Conversations. I'm here today with Bethany Hardy. She's the Director of Counseling here at our church, and we are so glad that she is going to be teaching an upcoming class called Making Peace with Your Past. So tell us about it, Bethany.
All right, so it's going to be a 13-week series, and it's based off of a book called Making Peace with Your Past, and we're going to be doing both a large group and a small group activity throughout each of the sessions, and we're going to dig into different aspects of your past for adults who struggled with dysfunctional families growing up, however the dysfunction looked. It can look different for everyone. So we're really hoping that people can connect with other women who also had dysfunction, because sometimes it seems like we're the only ones who had dysfunction and there's no one else in the world that grew up the same way as us. And so kind of connecting with other people and just really processing through how that experience was for everyone, because it's a different experience for everyone.
I love that you're offering this support for the women. It's going to be so great to have you do this. And tell us more about dysfunction. That's the word that can have many meanings. So what exactly are we talking about when we say dysfunction?
It is a very broad range of people that could come. So whether you were, your parents weren't around emotionally or physically. So if you grew up in a home where parents were working a lot and you were kind of tending for yourself, or just emotionally they weren't available, they didn't really care about emotions, or they didn't understand how to foster emotions and be present. Maybe they didn't understand how to have healthy emotions for them. And so the emotions were you felt like you had to maybe not talk about the emotions and just kind of keep them inside. So either physically or emotionally, where the parents weren't available, if there was neglect or abuse in the home, whether to you or you witnessed neglect or abuse to you or your siblings, or kids who grew up in alcoholic families. So it's really a very broad topic. I think probably most people could get something out of the group, because probably to some degree all of our families are a little dysfunctional. So it is a very broad topic for a reason, so that it can kind of capture a wide range of people who grew up with hard family lives.
Yeah, I love it. I was looking at this book, and it was interesting to read about dysfunction because, it was talking about those feelings and emotions. And I was even thinking, having a 12-year-old daughter, when she has emotions, how should I be handling it? So I'm kind of very excited to dive into this class that starts on May 31st at 10 a.m. in the Student Center. But what challenges do we face when we don't address our past?
So if a lot of times when we're growing up in dysfunctional families, we tend to just not express our emotions because it's not safe to express them. It's not safe to say how we feel. So if we're just in a constant state of suppressing our emotions, eventually the emotions have to come out in one way or another. So I always like to use the example of a soda bottle. If you shake it up and you open the cap, it's going to explode. So it's just a matter of when are those and how are those emotions going to come out? So they can come out in anger. It can come out in, distancing yourself from people in relationships. So it can come out in a lot of unhealthy ways if you don't work through that. And then it can also cycle into how you raise your own family if you're not breaking that pattern of dysfunction. So a lot of times we're products of our upbringing. So if we see it one way, then that's kind of the way that we will our natural instinct is to also parent that way. And so if we can recognize the dysfunction and try to counteract that with our families to break that cycle of dysfunction. It can definitely affect us, and even health related too. If you keep those emotions inside, I've worked with people who have physical health issues due to not expressing their emotions, which sounds crazy, but it's true. And I've seen people, once they finally are able to process through some of the stress and their emotions from the past, their physical health is a lot better as well.
Yeah. Well, so who should be taking this class? What should be so the women know this class is for me?
I think if you think about it in terms of, how did I grow up? If you have any negative emotions where you're thinking, man, I really didn't have that emotional attachment. Attachment is another big piece. So if you think about your childhood and you're like, I didn't have parents who I could go and talk to about things. I didn't have that childhood. I had to grow up quickly because maybe your parents weren't there. So you had to take care of your siblings, or you were working by age 10 because you had to help financially provide for your family. So really just looking at your childhood and your upbringing and what emotions does that bring out when you're thinking about that. Are those positive emotions? Then you might not need to come to the class. But are those more negative emotions where you're like, oh, I feel like I missed out on my childhood. I feel like I didn't have any support from my family. My parents were always drinking, or there was abuse, or what you saw some things that a kid shouldn't see. So I would say do a hard look at your past and kind of, if you feel what emotions you feel, and if you feel like you had a dysfunctional family, then I think it would be great to also meet other people who kind of had similar struggles. But I think most people could get something out of this class.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like it. So what topics are we going to be talking about during the class?
So the topics are, the first week is about self-esteem. So the way that the study works is we're kind of 1 week behind. So the first week will just be an overview of the whole series, and just kind of some of the topics and what dysfunction is and that sort of thing. So the first week will be self-esteem, and then compulsive behaviors. We're going to talk about shame. We're going to talk about how sometimes we're fearful of having joy because maybe in our past, our parents wouldn't let us have joy. So we kind of had to, or they took that joy away, depending on what their personality was like, what the situation was. We're going to talk about growing up too soon. I've heard of lots of people who say they didn't have the childhood that they didn't have a childhood at all. They just basically all they remember is they were taking care of their family. They were taking care of their siblings all the time. Like they felt like they were the adults. So they're kind of grieving the loss of having a childhood. Perfectionism is often something that people who come from dysfunctional families struggle with. We're going to talk about healing from painful memories, because with dysfunctional families, there's a lot of painful memories involved. Learning how to forgive our parents of dysfunctional families, and then also learning how to be yourself. Sometimes if you grow up in a dysfunctional family, you take on certain roles or you're assigned certain roles. And so looking at who am I and how can I be myself as opposed to what I thought I should be growing up or what my parents forced me to be growing up.
Wow, I love this. I'm like so excited for this class, and I'm so glad you're going to be teaching it. Is there anything else that the women should know so that they come to class prepared on May 31st?
I think the main thing is it's going to be a combination of large group and small group. So we're going to have that intimate time where people can connect with the same group of people each week. So they will be at a table where they're talking to, five to 6 or 7 people in their group each week and really getting to know these women. And then there will also be that large group discussion. So that's kind of the format of it. Me and my counseling resident, Tatiana, are going to be co-leading the group. So me and her will be jumping from table to table each week as well. So we'll be able to provide our counseling input as well during the weeks that we're at each table. So you get 2 counselors for the price of 1.
That's free to come to the class. So
yeah,
it's available to buy at the class. So you can bring your money to purchase books on the first day of class. So that will be available. But 10 a.m. in the Student Center, and we can't wait. So thank you so much. Class starts May 31st, ladies. So mark your calendar, 10 a.m. Student Center, and we'll see you there. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you.